And any news or developments on you looking for a cover for left back? Now Royce obviously is not going to be around for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we've worked on that. We've got a few players that we've spoke to. Without naming names, we've got one coming in today to train. So I think it's a difficult one because if you look at the market of, obviously it has to be a free transfer, it has to be someone who's been out of contract in the last window because of a lack of emergency loans, which is a challenge. And if you look, you go and find me many left backs of a sufficient quality for us that are out of contract. There's not many around, and there's no guarantee on how fit those players are if they haven't played for 5 or 6 months. So, but we're looking at that, and we obviously, like you say, we need to get through that period. In an ideal world, I mean, if it was the other side of the pitch, then we've got plenty of young players that would step in, and I wouldn't even look. I'd give them an opportunity because that's what it's about. You're never going to know. But at the minute, our only real left-sider in terms of playing fullback is Don Bernard, that I think's maybe close to being ready, and he's right-footed and he's also injured, so it's not really much we've got that side. We've got Robbo, of course, left-footed, who could play out there at a push. So we are looking, and if we get the right one, then we might try to do something short-term to give us a little bit of extra
And with the January window literally just slightly over a month away, I assume plans are afoot, and you've got your eye on certain players you'll target to give you even more options to bring in January. Yeah,
that process is ongoing literally from the close of the last window. Then it starts. We've had multiple meetings about it. I'll watch players virtually every afternoon, sat in my office. And again, I think that's sometimes the challenge of, as I said before, being a manager. The challenge sometimes is that you've got to get a team out there on a Saturday ready, but there's so many other multitude of things. I can understand occasionally why people find it easier to have help in those areas, because it means you can focus solely on the football, whereas some weeks, I focus probably a small amount of time on the football and a big amount of time, of course, on the planning and everything else that goes with it. But I think that's part of why we're making steady progress, because we have that control on those areas. But recruitment-wise, we're working incredibly hard to make sure we've got the right lists, the right type of players. And then, of course, you have to be ready to be flexible, because either you can't afford those players, or they go elsewhere, or they won't come, or you never quite know until you start to do that diligence. But that's started now, and we're already putting those plans into place.
So you must be pleased in this window, because it's the first window really where you actually are going to have whatever amount it is, you'll actually have some money to work with.
Yeah, well, I think the previous windows we've obviously had support, but I think it's been more about, if we've paid a fee, it's been more about adjusting the package so that the fee and the package isn't that much different from a slightly more expensive player. So I think, if people look at our previous fees and said, wow, we've got loads of money again, I don't think that would necessarily be the case. I think probably more in this window it might be a little bit clearer that we might have some more money to spend, and we might be able to be a bit more competitive on wages as well. So I think it's a positive situation, and for me, I've always felt it's important that I can feel as a manager, and the players can feel that we're moving forwards. And obviously, the better you do over a longer period of time, that's becomes more and more difficult to feel that way. But I certainly feel as though going into this next window, as though we're pretty positive about what we're hoping for.
And looking to bring new players in, on the other side of it, possibly players are going to have to go out. Is that something?
Yeah, that's natural. I mean, we've not got big numbers at the minute, and I think you see that you see the beauty in this division, that half of the challenge is having enough players to cope with injuries, and not having too many players that it overpowers the sort of togetherness and the ethos that you want from your group. So, but I certainly think we could add a couple of extra players into it in terms of numbers. But of course, yeah, it's natural. There will be, it's natural there'll be 1 or 2 players going out in January if the right offers and the opportunities come along, and I think that's just good business, isn't it? You don't want to just keep signing players and keeping all the ones here. If players have a chance to play, that's great. If they don't have a chance to play very often, then usually it's best that they move on for their own sake as well.
Bristol City on Saturday. On paper, you're very much sort of like for like. They're 1 point behind your team. What sort of game are you expecting, and what do you know much about about Lee and how he might set his team up?
Yeah, I know quite a bit about Lee. I mean, his dad Gary was my youth team coach for a year or two at Cambridge, and also my manager. He actually sold me to Everton. Never quite gave me the reason for that, but did me a bit of a favour at the time. So, but he's a good guy. I've spoke to him, quite a bit since. And Lee, I've kept a sort of tabs on his career as a manager. I think he's done really well. I think he had some really good spells at Barnsley where he did an excellent job. Came through a very difficult spell there, which I'm sure made him a better manager, head coach, whatever they call it down at Bristol. But and had a fantastic opportunity. Obviously got a good history with Bristol. They've got some real good investment and funding, and they've spent a bit of money in the summer. But I think he's got a really competitive squad together. Got some excellent individuals. I probably won't do them justice by naming only two, but in particular Tammy Abrahams and Lee Tomlin, who a lot of teams would like those two in their team. But they've got some other good players, Gary O'Neill pulling the strings in midfield. So, they're a good side. They're a little bit like us. They play a different way to us, but they're a bit like us in the sense that they're trying to push to get in that top six, and both teams, I think, are going to have to be at the very best to continue to challenge for the top six, So, but he's done a good job. I mean, it'll be a difficult side to play against, but we've been good at home. We've been excellent at home. I think our form's been really good. Whether we've played a team down the bottom, a team around us, or a team at the top, we've got a very, very good record at home this year. So we've got to keep trying to maintain that.